Hello, 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 and welcome to the Rag Company Podcast. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
and
good job.
This is main show, episode number 30, I think?
30. Yeah.
Whoa.
30.
Cracked into the 30s now. All right, so part of the deal today is we're doing something a little different. We still talk about detailing, of course, but today we're just going to cut right into it. We're going to talk a little bit about cars and what got us interested in cars, because I realize for all detailers it differs. Maybe some are more interested in cars, maybe some are less.
Aren't car guys.
Yeah.
It's just
some are just like,
I
know how to clean really well, so okay, can't argue with that.
And other guys are super into being car guys.
But yeah, maybe cars were your gateway into that. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But before that, just wanted to give you guys a little taste of what we're getting into when we get into the big stuff. But before that, we're still doing our weight loss challenge here.
We are.
Dane wanted
this is the start.
I want to
to jump in and
This
brag.
is the start of week 2 of our weight loss challenge. Now,
so
to
we've
recap,
only been going for a week.
Only 1 week. This is the start of week 2. So to recap, I am on just eating a little bit better.
Yeah.
I am.
Well, you were.
I am working out. And I am taking fat burners that Anthony gave me.
He's taking like the pill approach to where he's like, I will eat this cake and follow it with a fat burner.
Now,
grabbing him, and it looks dangerous, man.
Now it was my birthday this last weekend, so I know I
indulged.
I indulged, and when I got on the scale this morning, I am at a 0. I am right back to where I started.
You're at net 0.
I have net 0. So all the gains I got last week, I have completely erased, but I didn't increase any.
Good.
So I'm still at a 0.
Which
is
nice.
So I'm not bad.
This is anybody's race to win.
So I'm starting over. So Anthony, you.
So I, as of right now, I had a weak moment this weekend.
But tell them what you're doing.
So I guess my approach
Your
to
regiment.
My regiment is I'm doing a combination of, it's intermittent fasting with a really large eating window. So I'm pretty much eating from I'm eating from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. I eat from that time. Out of that time, I'm doing nothing but drinking water, tea, or black coffee. So I'm only eating my small window, and it's good food. I mean, healthier foods. Yeah. And then I am going to the gym every day and lifting heavy or doing what I would normally do. No cardio though, because I hate doing that. Now,
and I'm doing cardio because I like doing that.
Oh, I hate it. But I had a weak moment where this weekend I was going into Walmart to pick up some stuff, and I see these girls out front that are slinging some product that I've seen before.
What? It's that time of the year again.
It's that time.
Oh no!
I saw them in their vests, and they They magnetized over to that area. I saw the green box. I saw the purple box. I saw the orange box.
The purple box is my favorite.
Yes. So, guys, Girl Scout cookies was my weakness, and I saw those. And it was one of those things where I was going to walk.
Eat them on the way to the gym.
I was going to walk past them. I initially saw them, and I said,
"It's not going to affect me."
Girl Scout cookies. We all. I mean, it's not nothing that we haven't had before. I go into Walmart, I pick up my stuff. I'm walking out. And this lady grabs me. She's like, "Hello, sir. Just letting you know, all the funds for this is going to the girls' camp." And I stop her halfway through a sentence. I'm like, "Ma'am, you don't have to sell me on these things, okay? I came over here for a reason, all right?"
She was just, "Well,
so
I never."
I pull out $20
for one thing and one thing only.
I pull out $20. I'm like, "How many boxes for 20?" And she's like, "It's $5 a box. You get 4 boxes." I'm like, "No tax?" She's like, "No tax." I'm like, "Give me 2 boxes of Thin Mints, 1 box of Do-si-dos, 1 box of Samoas," and
he knows what he wants.
I went home and I ate 2 boxes.
You should be ashamed
pretty
of
good.
yourself.
It's pretty good.
I ate 2 boxes in 30 minutes.
Also, why didn't you share?
And it was I put a box of Thin Mints in the freezer for my girlfriend. It's her favorite way to eat
Thoughtful.
them. But so that happened. I weighed myself later that day because I did go to the gym that day though, and I weighed myself last night, and I am still down 2 pounds from where I started.
Okay.
So the calories haven't kicked in yet. They haven't been stored as fat. So we'll see if that cancels out. I'll go to the gym today and check again. But Dane,
tell us what you're doing.
Made a big jump.
have been at a less than healthy weight for the last 12, maybe even 14 years. I used to be really in shape. Like I was there with Anthony levels of just like, I can work out, I can do all this. And then as soon as I stopped playing sports, like near the end of high school, all that eating that I was doing at the time caught up with me. I couldn't keep eating like, Michael Phelps level food intake.
Your guilty pleasures are hamburgers, right? Burgers.
I love fast food burgers.
He loves fast food
I'm
burgers.
guilty.
Guilty pleasure.
Yeah, it's true.
But
you know what? So I thought, okay. And everybody's going to roll their eyes when they hear, I'm doing keto, okay? Because I know, like, some people hear keto and they immediately just go, oh, this again, fad diets, all that stuff.
Tell me more about your CrossFit regimen.
Yeah, let's talk about, for CrossFit people, I'm sorry, I might roll my eyes a little at that too. But we're all entitled to our opinions. But when it came down to it, I thought, now that's something I might actually be able to do because then I wouldn't feel like I'm always hungry and stuff like that. And frankly, when you look at it, it almost sounds too good to be true. And then you kind of realize, well, actually what you get out of it is good, but you kind of have to realize what you're doing to yourself when you do it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you're basically training your body to give up on the carbs. So it's a low carb diet.
Stop taking the carbs as its main source of energy.
And you're basically training your body to burn fat because you're eating nothing but fat, protein type things. Mm-hmm. So that's basically what I've been doing.
So what's your score at the moment?
So I am down 6 pounds now in the first week. So that's
he has jumped way ahead of us.
Pretty killer for me. I was surprised.
I felt pretty good right out the gate.
Yep.
But then my birthday totally killed me.
Yeah, but I was going to say part of it was I felt like nothing was happening for the better part of the first week.
This whole week you were...
Because I've heard it explained that, in the first week or so, depending on how many carbs you got running in you the time, if you got a really bad diet before that, it might take a little bit before it happens. So, I had a lot of carbs. I like carbs. I like starchy foods, carbs. Yeah, you name it. Who doesn't? But when it came down to it, it was something I had to adapt to, and I realized, I'm going to be eating all this greasy, fatty stuff now, so every morning it's like bacon and eggs and sausage and just butter and grease. And, oh my God, there's so much of it. But it sounds crazy, but eventually you kind of get used to it. And what I learned quickly was I do not want Polish sausage every morning. That's just like the flavors.
I don't know if I want it every morning either.
2 days, not so much. But breakfast sausage, like the patties and stuff, that's cool. Like that was all right. And eggs and stuff, I found, okay, I can do that, and bacon. And I got like economy bacon because it actually has more fat.
So are you scrambling your eggs? Are you frying them? What are you doing?
I prefer over hard, but my girlfriend prefers scrambled. So we just went scrambled because it's easier to get it all for both of us because we're both doing this. This is what makes it easier if you have somebody else who's doing it with you so that you're not just stuck on your own terms, because left to my own devices, I could probably go out and
when
grab
she's
a
on
burger.
her own, is she adhering to this? She's not like
actually
binging on carbs while you're
no
you
like
guys
that's
home.
the
She's
thing.
like, wow, this
Dane's,
isn't working.
Dane's getting super skinny, and she's just like, I don't know why it's not working for me.
Her vice
She's at home eating
her
Girl
vice is
Scout
coffee,
cookies.
and she likes a creamer in the coffee, Italian
which is a
sweet
lot of
cream, all
sugar
that
and
stuff.
carbs. And...
But what we did was we replaced the usual Italian sweet cream with those Torani syrups, and got the sugar-free ones,
which is
and
zero
you just
carb.
put like a little dip of that, of like vanilla and a caramel, and then you put in just a little bit of half and half. And it's like creamer in terms of flavor and everything. Honestly, she and I both think it tastes better than the creamer we were using before. So that was kind of surprising, but it has no sugar in it. And that's the big thing. It's just not taking in sugar. And, of course, I was bummed out when I'm looking around trying to find out all the things I can eat. And it's like, I can enjoy all these meat things, but I can't have the buns that go with them or anything like that. It's kind of
there's
a bummer.
one thing that's really good, too, is one of Anthony's favorite desserts, sugar-free Jell-O with whipped cream.
Yep.
And you can get the spray can of whipped cream because you're
like a parfait kind
there's
of
like
thing.
one carb
in
those.
And that's the thing.
You can get light and get it even
What
lower.
I learned was, okay, I don't have to be as crazy about the carbs as I initially thought, where I was just like zero tolerance carbs.
No.
Like it's just the overall net percentage of it compared to everything else. It just has to be much, much lower than the other things. But you can have some and it won't kill you. So I haven't done it yet, but I'm considering doing some things that maybe have like 1% carbs or something like that. Just little stuff. But at the same time, I am staying away from sugar. Fortunately, I'm one of those people who somehow doesn't have a sweet tooth, so I can avoid that for the most part. Yeah. But it's just like breads and pastries and stuff. That's the danger for me.
So my mother-in-law baked me what we call in our family the BT cake.
What does that stand for?
Betty Tanner.
Oh.
That was the lady that made the cake originally.
Did you bring some in last
year?
I think you did. It was amazing.
Right, yeah.
It's one of those things that so it's a fully scratch-made chocolate cake and chocolate frost, like
i.e. completely not healthy.
Completely, but almost in a sense, it's better because it's 100%.
It's not processed.
It's not processed.
That's good.
So I mean, it's hard. It's hard to make. It takes a while to make, and sometimes and it's got a different variation. So there's never one that's the same.
Yeah.
But it's fully scratch made. So's the frosting. And it's just a family staple in my wife's family. And And what it was my wife's grandmother had a best friend who made that and brought that cake to a function. Gosh, it probably would have been the early 40s or so. And the whole family loved it and needed the recipe. And then after that, it's basically it's made for birthdays and celebrations and stuff. And so it's just been passed down. And it was funny to watch. Augie, though, is like me. When I first had it, I was like, this is the most insane cake I've ever had. I want this for every holiday from now on. Like, how do we make this? Can I learn how to make? Can we do this? Like, and my nieces, two of my favorite nieces, they were probably 8 or 9 years old. And we were at a house for a birthday party and we were eating, and I was just like, oh my God, this is so good. And I was having my slice, and my nieces each took like a bite out of theirs and then took it over and put it in the sink and turned the water on and like destroyed the cake, basically. And me, coming from I will say my family never cooked. Yeah. So I never had like home cooked meals. I never had scratch made products like that. It was cake came out of a box and stuff like that. And so for me, this was like a new world. Like my wife's mom cooked food and like, it was fun. I was like, oh, she can make a roast. What is this? I've never had that. I felt like I've been living in a shed. But I saw that and I was like, huh. And I told my nieces, I said, if you ever don't want your cake, your BT cake, you bring it to Uncle Levi.
Offer it to somebody else first, at least.
And I will fit it.
Not the dog. The dog doesn't count.
I will give those slices a good home. Yeah. So that's the running joke. So it was good to see my children completely enjoy this cake. And Augie, I swear, got the same slice I did. We dosed him for it, and he engulfed
me, Dad.
He engulfed his cake, like his piece. I've never seen a 3-year-old eat a piece of cake that fast. And he was moaning while he was eating it. He was like loving it so much and indulging it. It was cute and sad at the same time.
You're like, oh no, I've created a monster.
I was like, oh, you poor little guy with your diabetes. And you have to dose you.
This is really mean what I'm doing right now.
He was loving. He was so excited to get his insulin dose so he could have this cake. Like it was great. But. So anyway, I ate a lot of that this weekend. And when I say a lot, I ate a lot.
And that's how we wound up back at 0. Yeah. So basically, to sum it all up, we're doing our weight loss challenge. We haven't decided what our prize is. Right now, I'm in the lead. I wasn't expecting
John's deciding what our prize is.
John's going to decide what our prize is.
Our op manager's going to.
But basically, we're going to, cut it off when we are, just about to head out for a trip we're going to be making. So
March 20th is going to be our last day.
Yep. So we'll find out what we've done then. But I would say when it comes to the keto, anybody looking for like fast results, warning, I'm thinking the first, chunk of weight loss, a lot of it is like water weight. So you're going to see like a big drop eventually in the first week or second week, but it's probably going to slow down.
But I noticed, like, I saw you when we walked in, and I was like, holy crap, Dane, you lost some weight.
Honestly, that's the thing I'm most self-conscious about. It's just like, this whole thing. So, yeah.
He loses like the chin, but he's like, all right, I'm done. I'm like, Dane,
but you're still a barrel.
He's like, guys... My selfies are going to be so much better now.
I'm not afraid to say my weight. I was 240, and now I am 234. So that's something. It's
pretty good.
How about you guys?
Awesome. I was 218, and then now I'm down to 216. But for reference though, back in the day when I used to do bodybuilding, my leanest I ever was when I was just like
your fighting weight,
just my fighting weight, and my leanest I ever was. I was 195. So realistically, if I were to even get down into the lower 200s, I would be really happy with where I'd be, and I'd be totally. If I hit 205, I'd be stoked.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, I'm shooting for 180.
So I'm under both of you. I'm at 191.
Okay.
Man.
Now, when I married my wife,
What's your fighting weight? That's what I want to know.
I've seen old pictures of you. You were a lot skinnier.
Yeah. So I had a overactive thyroid when I met my wife. I was 131 pounds, so I was horribly skinny at 5'10". I was a little too skinny.
So if anything,
and then I had my thyroid killed with radiation, and
Yikes.
now I take a levothyroxine.
So what's the reason why somebody would do that if you have an overactive thyroid? Like why would somebody want to kill their thyroid off?
Because it
What would be the problem if you would have left it as is?
Basically it controls your metabolism and your heart rate and a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And so I was always running at a very high heart rate.
Yeah, like an unhealthy heart rate, right?
An unhealthy heart rate. My thyroid was running 3 times faster than the average amount. So I wasn't gaining nutrients, basically. So food, I would eat it, and it would be burned so quickly by my body that it wasn't retaining.
Right.
It wasn't retaining. So you start getting deficiencies. So certain things can start happening. Like you can have hair loss. You can have their eyes start to bulge, so to speak. There's a bunch of different things. You look it up. I don't know all the gifs of it.
So it needed to happen.
But it needed to happen because it basically it burns up. It burns. It basically I look at it as it takes hours away from your heart.
Yeah. Okay.
Main reason if it's overactive.
Yeah.
If you think of your heart like construction equipment,
you're just
powers operated.
Yeah, so it's running too high. It needed to come down to slow it down. It's like when you're driving your car and you're cruising on the freeway and you're
at
in
a certain
third
point
gear,
you get up into your higher RPMs, so you're less efficient.
You need to bring those RPMs down. You shouldn't be running that high that long. It's going to damage the motor. So
unless you're passing somebody, i.e., doing a sport or something like that.
But I mean, if you were driving down
to carry this metaphor
but if you drove from Boise, Utah to Salt Lake, which is 5 hours, at 80 miles an hour, 90 miles an hour, and you were running at 5,000 or 6,000 RPM the whole time, probably not good on your engine. If you're running,
I've had some cars where that wasn't really a choice so much as a way of life.
but if you were at 1,800 or 2,000, it's a lot less damaging on the motor. Basically, that's kind of how I perceived it with an overactive thyroid. So I had the radiation treatment. There's other ways that some people just have them completely removed.
You just installed some tall gearing and you're good now. Yeah.
So that's what I did. So now I have no metabolism. It's governed by a pill that I take, which got upped 2 weeks ago. So I'm hoping that helps in this event. But my fighting weight,
while he's taking all these fat burners, just like
fat burners and that. But
we'll talk about cars soon, guys. I swear.
My fighting
thyroid medication off you. Like, Levi, can I get some of that?
Yes. You're like, this sounds way better.
Dane's really
this
winning.
Seems really sketchy.
Yeah. We're gonna take Dane down.
Yeah. But my fighting weight's probably, I joke, it's 165.
Okay.
It's probably a good spot. That's probably where I'd be my leanest.
Yeah.
But 175, I'd be happy with.
Well, like different body types have different ideal weights. It's not even necessary. Like I'm really stocky. Like I just built like a square. So yeah.
So realistically, I'd be 175. I'd be happy with.
Cool.
So.
All right. So now you guys know.
That's where we're at.
I know. Going from towel talk, detailing talk to now weight loss.
Yep.
Talk.
You never know what you're going to get on the Rag Company podcast, and that's why you tune in.
Yeah.
Or at least that's why you stuck around and everybody else left. Just kidding. We're getting more every day. Thank you to all who listen.
So, hope you guys noticed our new brushes that we released.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there was
a big
response to that. Maybe we should talk about that before we
should talk about the brushes before we get into our car stories.
Yeah. So the brushes we released, they were by Detail Factory. So Detail Factory, they are a company that only create brushes as of this point right now in the game.
They're a new company.
They're a new company as of this year.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically. First time I ever saw their product was actually on the January release of White Details. Jim White released one of his videos about his new detail on his new BMW that he picked up.
If you don't watch Jim's channel already, go watch it. You'll enjoy it. If you like detailing, you'll enjoy it.
Awesome video. He puts a lot of production into his videos. Really, really cool. But I saw this brush in one of his videos that he showed off, and he used to clean his door jambs, he used to clean his emblems, his grills, and all that while he was doing a soap and water wash. And I was super impressed at how this brush looked and how it acted, and how he had like the handle in his hand, and how it looks very comfortable. So about not even a couple days after that, Detail Factory had contacted us with the interest of us maybe possibly selling their products or us working together in like a collaboration effort. And from there, we hit the drawing board. Yeah. And we started putting together some ideas and things that we wanted to do with them. And they've been so awesome to work with. They're one of those companies guys. That we've talked about this in the past before about companies we like to work with, people that we like to work with, and these are those people.
Well, and also it's not even it. You know, you're probably going to see a couple more versions of that brush from other companies.
Just like I see IK sprayers pop up other places. We talk about it, and then other people go, and either they already had something in the works, or they literally reacted to us doing it. I don't know. I don't want to take too much credit,
But one of the things, like Anthony says about us doing business with these companies, one of the big things is we want them to grow. We want people to learn about Detail Factory themselves. Yeah, and
as
learn
a brand,
about
we don't want to take that from them.
That is a big difference between us and I think a lot of other companies. We are happy to promote the brand itself. Detail Factory, they get credit because they're the ones who make this thing. Yeah. What we do is just work with them to find something that specifically suits our needs, say like the color of this particular one. We want it to be unique to us.
Well, and this brush, like we said, it's a Detail Factory brush. It's got their logo on it. When you receive it, it's
DF on the
got
end,
a card on it. It says Detail Factory. The new versions that'll be coming, our next batch, will have the co-brand Detail Factory Rag Company logo on the little card that it comes with. But for us, we want it as a Detail Factory brush. They're the ones that came up with it. They're the ones that spent the time and money to engineer it and do all that stuff. All we did was...
They're brush experts. We are towel experts, so we're not going to profess to be the experts at everything because that's not necessarily realistic. No. So rather than BS you, we just want to be up front
or call
and
it
show
ours,
you,
and go like, this is the TRC brush.
Or like even worse, where you do the co-branding, but you're like, it's our brush, and then there's this little name next to it afterwards. It's like, no, it's their product. We
just like we did with the IK sprayers.
We want people to know that
we're promoting IK sprayers.
You can put whatever sticker on that bottle you want.
Oh, snap.
Woo! Anyway, but
we did it in our color.
I need to drink some of my sparkling lemon water to wash down that burn.
It's all right.
So, but we did it in our color. Yeah. And their current color is gray. So if you get a Detail Factory brush, if you go on Amazon, you buy it, it's gray. If you want Rag Company blue,
get it blue.
Get it from us.
If you want both colors, if you want to, give a certain task to each brush. Say the gray brush is for your grills and emblems, and you say the blue brush is for your interior stuff. You can get crazy with it, and there are different colors. And in the future, we are coming out with some other things as well with them, and so we want to continue working with that company.
We really like those guys, and there's going to be more that we're going to be doing with them in the future.
They put in the hustle that we like to see. We put in a lot of hustle. They are putting that equal amount of hustle, and they're working just as fast as we are, and we absolutely love that. So these brushes,
support that.
That brand. You guys are probably wondering what makes these brushes so great. Why do people want these brushes? Now, detail brushes are not something that's new, right? There have been boar's hair brushes, there have been horsehair brushes, there have been other synthetic materials out there for years and years and years, and there are cheap detail brushes on Amazon, for example, or on other detailing websites.
Speaking of which, we should have some right here. Is what we should have done.
We knew that these brushes were different. The first time I saw them, I knew that they were different. And when we got sent our sample batch, Levi had me run upstairs. He called me. I run up there, and it was one of those situations about the IK sprayers. Like he had to show me these, and he handed me one of the brushes, and it was everything I had.
It was so soft.
It was everything I ever wanted in a detail brush. It was, the first feel of it, you feel the weight of the handle. You feel that it's, it's actually a 50-50 weight distribution on that handle exactly at the grip. Yeah. So you can actually put the grip on your fingertip and balance a brush on there, which is super cool. But these were...
Tim's on the way grabbing
something.
Okay. Oh, good.
They're just downstairs on the...
Yeah.
But so these brushes are different. The second I held them, they were different. The second I felt the bristles, these synthetic bristles are proprietary.
Yeah, it's their own... We got a lot of questions this weekend about people asking us about what's the bristles made out of. It's a synthetic bristle, but it is a proprietary concoction by them, and they're holding that secret.
Exclusive to them.
You know, that's what makes their brush why you want to buy. Yeah, that's why you want to buy the brush, because that, you know, you're not going to get it from somebody else. We'll just put it that way. As soon as Dane finishes talking.
Don't mind me.
But Dane's got them in a bag. We're going to get them out.
He's going to grab the open ones here.
We've got some open ones for people to demo in the store. But as you can see, this first version just has the Detail Factory name on there, and then it's got the Detail Factory logo. You can see that on the end of each brush.
You actually can. Yeah.
And what's great about them, like we said, they're in blue. Anthony says they're balanced.
They are. You can actually.
I can't get this.
Well, it's not the exact same color.
Card in the bag.
I'll do it without the bag.
These are sort of similar to like a Porsche Miami blue kind of color.
Yeah. So we picked the color and put them in there, and like I said, they're just super soft. They're awesome little brushes.
And they are stupid soft. And, you know, that was one of the things you talked about, Anthony, where you're like, I almost feel bad using these. These are so nice, because they are. They're really nice, but they're also really functional.
Well, and I had a buddy of mine that used to come by my shop. He still comes to the store, and he would bring me old makeup brushes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And...
Which is a topic that kept coming up when we're talking about these.
So Matt and I at my shop, we would use makeup brushes for wax and things like that. You know, we used boar's hair on the interior to scrub cup holders and things like that. We'd use a makeup brush for certain areas, softer areas like piano black plastics and things like that. And we would take them and then put black electrical tape around here to tighten up the bristles. And that's what we would use. And for years, I remember working at a detail shop where we would use wooden boar's hair brushes, wrap them in black electrical tape, and then that's what you use to take out the old paste wax off of the emblems. And I remember watching that going like, I don't want to use these on the paint because they scratch the ever-living snot. And why are we doing this?
And not even just like makeup, type brushes, but I've seen people raid like art supply stores and get like paint brushes and stuff, and you're just going, what are you doing?
Well, let's just put it this way, when the jobbers, all they're carrying are boar's hair brushes, and you need a wax brush, short of going to the makeup store and buying makeup brushes or going to the art supply store to get that, you're still not buying a brush that was designed for the purpose intended, which is paint.
Yeah. And so a big thing that sets these apart, like I seen mentioned several times, because people say, I just get makeup brushes.
Or art brushes.
In a lot of cases cost just as much, if not more, because they're makeup and
you go to Mac, it's $40.
I know there are cheap ones out there, but they're not going to perform like these do. For one thing, these are chemical resistant. I highly doubt most of those makeup brushes are going up against acids.
Well, it's just think about it, guys. Makeup brushes are for makeup. Detailing brushes are for detailing.
Yeah.
Now these brushes were made by detailers. These were made by detailers for detailers.
Yep.
So, like Dane said, they're chemical resistant. The handle, the brush, the bristles.
They're going to last.
Everything on it, they're going to last, and they can take a beating. I mean, we used them for almost 2 months, and I put mine through extensive use of the test brush, and it held up to everything I put it through. And I did feel bad when I put these on the wheels because
they are pretty soft.
Such a nice brush, but I took care of it. I cleaned it out. I rinsed it out, and mine still looks like brand new. And it's on a whole nother level. I like it that it has this nice little area to where you can put a
like a little carabiner hole.
It's got a little hole there, so you can put a little strap, and you can hang it from your belt or hang it from wherever you want.
Well, and the long one's good. You can throw it in a wheel bucket or something if you're using one of those for that, or a wash bucket.
Digging your whole hand.
Yeah, you're not sticking your whole hand all the way down like the short one. I like the short one because if you have pants and you're working, fits in either your detailer's helper belt.
You sit down and it jabs you in the ribs. You're like,
because you got the big one. Yeah. But anyway, so we really like what these guys are doing. We really like the way these are built. We really think these are the best brushes you could buy. And so you should keep buying them.
And credit goes to Detail Factory for doing it right.
Seriously, you guys are doing awesome. You can see the Detail Factory logo right there at the bottom. We wanted to keep that on both brushes because, like I said, we want to rep a cool company.
But if you want the blue ones,
you can only get them from us.
Blue ones are going to be exclusive from us. And, stay tuned. We're going to be filming some more videos with these, getting out some higher production stuff, more marketing behind them. The biggest thing is we need more because we've blown through almost our entire stock.
We had them for like a day or two, and they're already just...
within about 3 hours, we had sold out of half of our stock.
Yeah, and so, you
it's
guys,
funny what just posting
like
a picture on Instagram can do, right?
It's crazy.
Jeez.
Yeah.
So well, we appreciate it and thank you. And there's still plenty more people that need these brushes, and we plan on supplying to all of them.
Yeah.
So that was one big thing that happened. You had your birthday. We did some weight loss stuff this weekend, or we ate some food.
Yeah,
we went to the gym.
Foods.
Now, going forward this week, we have some other things planned. We are finishing up with our last cut video that we filmed, the Jace Price video of the last cut compound glaze. We did a full video of a paint correction on a hood. We did a comparison with a different hood, and it turned out so good.
If you want to see some sneak peeks, go on Detailed Review on Facebook, on the Detailed Review group if you're a member.
Yep.
And you can see some before and after shots and videos that we did of the hood, the Firebird hood.
And
the insanity that followed.
Beware, gifts galore there, but
it was fun. That was what it was about. And that hood came out gorgeous.
Yeah. No, the product, the last cut really it blows me away every time we use it. I mean,
and we did use the last cut as the product for all the steps.
Yes,
we didn't use
that's
a compound and a polish
between
different
other
types.
things where you have those stages and steps, and you have to use a different product.
We used different pads.
Yep, and that gave us our final result. And we did this on our junkyard hood from start to finish.
It was the best looking '94 Firebird hood
that's right.
I've ever seen.
It absolutely is.
It wasn't when we got it, but it is.
Tim, our newest employee,
he wants to put it on his Elantra.
He
wipes Elantra.
We taught him. We kind of taught him the steps of detailing, and he saw from beginning to end the result.
Yeah, he walked the junkyard with us, found the hood.
Yeah, and he got to see it from somebody that doesn't know detailing as well as we
do. Yeah,
he got to see it. The whole process, and he was blown away. He looked at me and he's like,
"You can do that?
Yeah, like this is something that people do, and you can do this because this hood looks like it's just repainted."
It's fun when people don't know detailing and get to see that kind of level of transformation.
Paint correction may be a common term for you guys, but to the average person, they're like, "Say what now?"
Yeah, he was like, we told him what we were going to do, and he's like, "Okay, cool," but he didn't know until we got in, and then he was like, "Why are you guys doing that? What did you do?" And then he'd see, I'd polish a section, I'd sand it, and he was like, "Whoa, you got rid of the paint there." I'm like, "No, that's just the clear coat. I didn't get rid of the paint. I sanded the clear. Watch this." And then I put on a pad and show, like, this is a pad we carry. This is what we have. Here's a product. So it's kind of also teaching a new employee kind of what we do. One that, his skill set is very different from our skill sets.
Yep. Yeah.
So, if I got into it with him and he started showing me editing videos and stuff, I'd be like, "Well, I don't know.
You're so fast at that. Yeah.
This is crazy."
What are you copying and pasting?
Yeah.
But it was really cool to see that, and that video is turning out awesome. We have just some audio some voice to relay over the video, and then we'll be working on that and getting that out soon.
I think like the IK sprayer video we did, where we kind of tell you all about them from A to Z.
Yeah. And so, and the same thing, we're going to be doing that with these brushes. And we're going to be getting out some other informative videos on the sprayers themselves because they are getting more popular out of nowhere.
They have been. We are now live on Amazon, though.
Yes.
So
that's some big news.
That is big.
Not everybody wants to shop at like some company's website. They're like, "I'm more comfortable shopping
or maybe
on Amazon."
Maybe you have gift cards on Amazon. Maybe you've got things.
Well, that's a big thing. Yeah, you get Amazon gift cards or credit from like a previous Amazon order or something.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we are now on Amazon with all three of our IK sprayers. You can pick up the foam, the multi, and you can pick up the foam 9, the 1.5, the multi, and the foam 9. So you can pick up all three. They are on sale. They are on Amazon Prime. So you're going to get the 2-day shipping. I believe the foam 1.5 and the multi 1.5, those aren't going to be in stock until March because, believe it or not, guys, we put those on Amazon with a release date
we sent an order
with a release date of 4 days ago, right?
Yeah.
And we've sold out of every stock batch that we've sent. That now they've pushed the initial stock release date now to the beginning week of March, the first week of March. So the foam 9 is available, though. We still have several of those left.
So it doesn't matter where you see it because there are a lot of companies that have decided to take our lead and start carrying the IK.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
We are the only ones selling it on Amazon.
Yes.
Detailing company selling it on Amazon.
Correct.
Yeah.
And we're the only ones with the rights to do that.
Yeah. So if you want that prime, if you want to get your foamers, you want to get your
just making it easy for you guys.
We're making it really easy,
and
feel free to add some towels into the order while you're doing it. But okay, so shifting from here,
all right,
we wanted to talk about cars, and
we wanted to talk about an origin story, so to speak, from all of us.
Stories.
So you kind of get to know us a little better, and how the three of us all kind of differentiate or kind of grew up, so to speak. So I don't really. Who wants to go first? Dane?
Levi begins.
Oh, come on.
Lay it down.
All right.
Yeah.
So.
All right, elder.
Yeah.
As the recently turned 38.
Elder.
Yeah. I will. I'll start. So I was born in 1980. No, I'm just kidding. So I. Funny story. Just to set the tone. My dad bought a new car in 1980. My mom's water broke with me in the new car on the way to the hospital.
Yep.
The new car was only 2 months old.
Yeah.
Oops.
My dad was
what kind of car was it?
My dad was a detailer. It was a Datsun 510.
Ooh.
Oh man.
Very nice.
And my dad was driving. My mom's water broke all over the seat and the carpet. So you get that image.
Yeah.
Thanks.
My dad dropped my mom off at the hospital, walked her in, got her up, got her in a hotel room or into the hospital bed, all that stuff. And then while he was waiting, when my grandmother showed up, his mom showed up, my dad was like, I'm just going to run down to the car wash down the street. They have a vacuum.
Yeah.
I need to suck all this water out.
Now that you mention that, I'm terrified to think of what's in most of those car wash vacuum systems.
So, but that's what he did.
Yeah.
So my dad being a detailer and having a new car, new to him, it was brand new, went to take care of that while my mom was in labor with me. So going farther back, my dad and all my uncles are car guys. They've always been car guys. My dad collects Chevy pickups. He's got one of every body style since 1926 to 1967. You've probably seen pictures of them on my Instagram. We go over to my dad's house. My kids get to play in all the trucks and cars. My dad and all my uncles grew up with trucks, cars, hot rods. I mean, the whole 9 yards. That's what's been my family. I joke that when we took pictures of the kids growing up, it was, hey, let's get a picture, everybody. Why don't you all stand over there? Let's get this car in the shot.
Yeah,
it's my uncle's H1 Hummer. It's my uncle's
you
Cobra.
It's my
uncle's GT350. It's my uncle's army truck. It's one of the, it's whatever. Let's everybody just kind of move over. And let's get and then it's basically just a photograph of the car with some of the kids. Yeah. So it started with my grandfather had a 57 Austin Healey in black and red.
Good start.
And he had a picture of the kids all lined up with the car, all of them touching the hood. But my grandfather, being the elder statesman that he was, wouldn't let his children touch his black car without a towel between them and the paint in their hand.
Yeah.
So he'd be very excited if he was still alive to know that I worked.
To touch it, throw the towel between us.
Yeah. If he knew that I worked here at the rag company, because this would be something he'd be very into.
Oh yeah.
But so that was one of the first pictures I've seen is of that. Now going forward, I am 9 years old. I am my dad's house currently. Across the street, there's an old man. My dog went running across the street. I was already into cars. I was drawing cars. I like cars just from the influence of my dad and my uncles.
Yeah.
I ran across the street to chase my dog because he got loose. Goes in the neighbor's yard. Goes farther back into the neighbor's yard. This neighbor's yard has like an 8-foot tall fence. So it's a full backyard, but then another 8-foot fence. My dog runs behind the fence.
So it's like a sandlot scenario.
Yeah. So I walk back. Basically, I run through and I'm like, whoa. And I come across a mini junkyard.
Sandlot.
Yeah, literally.
HOAs kind of frown on that these days.
My dad doesn't live in an HOA, thankfully. So,
Smart.
So reason why he has all his trucks in his yard. So
I wondered how that worked.
I run across the street and I am stopped dead in my tracks by all these cars. And my neighbor, I run back, I tell my dad, that guy's got like 10 cars back there in his yard. And my dad walks over with me. I take my dog back. My dad had been calling for me, didn't know where it was. I was like, I was over here. The guy has a bunch of cars. So my dad walks over with me. We knock on his door. He's like, hey, sorry, my boy was in your yard. He said, you got a bunch of cars back there. He goes, yeah. My dad said, you got like 10 or 13 or something? He's like, oh, no, I got 47 back there.
Woo!
He had 47 cars and 200 bicycles.
Wow.
Back there. All restored pre-war Schwinn's, Columbias,
man, cool.
All kinds of cruiser bikes hanging from the ceiling. And then he had tons of different styles. He had Nash's, Hudson's, Buicks, LaSalle's. He had Studebakers. And he bought cars at the auto auction in the 60s. And he would buy these cars, drive them, and park them. They'd break down for something. He'd park it, go buy another one, because he's like, I picked these cars up for $5.
Yeah.
So he would still do that.
He'd just park them in his mom's backyard. And that's what he did. And so he had all these cars. Now, fast forward to today, he only has 12 left. He just had a heart attack. He's going to be selling from the original collection. He's going to be selling a bunch of them and getting rid of them. But that image of all these old cars, 37 Studebakers, 25 Pontiacs, 36 Cadillac LaSalle's, Nash Metropolitans, Hudson's, all this stuff I still see. And that was what kind of shaped I loved that era of automobiles. I loved early pre-war stuff. I loved all the way up into the 60s, even into the 70s. 80s got kind of weird. But
meanwhile, I love 80s stuff too.
But so that's where I got. And one thing I loved to do as a kid was I drew cars. And so one thing I wanted to do before I became a detailer was draw cars. And when I was in high school, that was my goal. I was going to go to the Pasadena Art Center. I was going to go in for automotive design. I knew a ton of different designers. That's what I followed. I was trying to get letters. I was drawing. I had my portfolio built. I was going to do a bunch of stuff. Although I didn't have the grades to get in. I did get in, but I didn't have the way to pay for it, basically. So that was something that stopped for me, and I started detailing cars as a way to learn the curves and shapes of a car so I could draw it. That was how I saw it.
That's an interesting insight into how
this way I could touch, and I got a job at a car wash thinking, oh, this will help me when I'm drying off all these different cars. I'll be able to learn all the shapes, the curves, the points as to where they are. So when I draw, this will be how I do it. I stayed working at a car wash because I thought I got to save money for college if I'm going to move to Pasadena and I'm going to do all this stuff.
Yeah.
I never moved. I never went for that. But I got really good at detailing cars. And this is where I'm at now. I still draw. To this day, that's what I do. And when I did go to college at Boise State to get some of my core stuff out of the way at the time, my major there was graphic design because that was the closest I could do in Boise to try and get as many core stuff done before I moved to do that. Because I always had that in my option. I'm still going to try and do that.
Well, about what
Here I am, 38, and I never did it. But this is how I kind of got into not only detailing, but cars in general. So
what year were you doing graphic design?
Early 2000s.
Okay, so like 02, 03 kind of.
No, we're talking 99, 2000,
when you said early
2001, early 2000s.
Late 90s, early 2000s. Yeah.
I graduated high school in 1998.
Okay,
so this is my 20th
so I was
year.
A little behind you.
Yeah, so
I just pictured the tech you're using.
So it was first gen IMAX, the colored IMAX.
Everybody loves those.
You had a zip drive to save
zip drives. I remember
to save your files. You had Adobe Illustrator and Photoshop, but they were very primitive, very slow, very hard to use. Yeah. So you could realistically, there were some people that were getting good, but you couldn't draw. There wasn't pen, pad types available at the college yet. So you had to learn how to manipulate your mouse. And I remember one of my buddies got a pen and could draw on like a pad that they had made. And that was like, oh my gosh. And it was like $10,000 for that or whatever. It was crazy.
Yeah.
So most of the stuff you did, you'd try and render it yourself, draw it out yourself, rescan the document, put it in, kind of try and clean up and fill, add color and gradient shading, print it back out, add some more, do it back. So it had to be you had to draw to do this stuff.
It's really tedious.
So it's a little harder, but for me, that generation of cars, older cars, hot rods, things like that, custom cars, paints, colors, all that kind of stuff appealed to me more. So I got into old cars mostly because that's where my dad and my uncles were into. That was what I learned. When my dad saw that I started liking to draw cars, he had me start learning. He'd buy me books, and he'd have me start identifying grills, headlights. He'd pull a piece of an old car. He'd go to a junkyard, find that, and go, what is this? What did this come off of? You know, and so I'd have to learn what that part or what that piece of chrome or what that trim was on. And I have to run through my brain's index of what that could have been, what design that was from, whether that was from a 37 Chevy or whether that was from a 41 Chevy or whether that was from a, 47 DeSoto. I had to learn that. And it was old stuff mostly because that was what my dad and my uncles were into. So that's where my skills grew. I've always loved cars, and even now, like, I still keep up. I read Car and Driver, I read Motor Trend. I love seeing new designs. I love seeing what new stuff's coming out.
Because you're always sitting there wondering, like, have we tapped, like, the peak of what creativity is out there? It seems like everything's turning into a bar of soap. You always hear the complaint and all that.
No, but I like seeing what happens. I like seeing some of the new stuff.
But the reality is people are still thinking outside the box and coming up with some really cool designs. So
yeah, there's a lot of neat stuff.
It hasn't all been done yet.
And I do like newer stuff and tuner stuff. I got into that in the early 2000s again.
I mean, really, how else could you own the high-performance machine, the Elantra?
Exactly.
Yes.
I like the designs and the shapes.
Yeah. Serious. Yeah.
But I like that. I like that stuff, And when I was in high school, I had an 85 Toyota Supra that I drove, and I loved that car, and I still love that shape. And I'd love to get another one someday.
See, he's all right with the 80s too.
But I like 80s Japanese stuff. I don't really care for some 80s American stuff.
Not so much. Not so much.
But I just like cars, period. But I have a very well-versed knowledge in classics, hot rods, customization, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I do have a 46 Chevy truck.
Yeah.
So, in case you think I don't have something, have a 76 Oldsmobile on my arm. I've had a 68 Cadillac Coupe de Ville. I've had a lot of different vehicles in my life. And when I got married, I got rid of some of them because they all just took up space. My dad said to me, he's like, you got a lot of broken cars. Why don't you just get rid of everything and maybe get
broken cars with like one or two running ones?
Yeah, that was basically what he said. He goes, you don't have my money, so you don't get to be what I have with 15 broken down cars kind of thing. And then my dad said, so that was me. But
nice.
So I melded my love of design with the ability to touch and feel. And that's why I got into this.
Well, car culture has so many different facets. You can arrive at car enthusiasm so many different ways. Just as you pointed out, not everybody's story is going to be the same as yours, but they're going to be just as passionate about cars. If they like cars, they like cars. And that's another thing I wanted to point out when it comes to this kind of stuff. Just because you don't know how to work on a car doesn't mean you're not a car enthusiast. Because there's definitely a lot of people who get, thrashed because, oh, no, they can't identify an alternator on a chart. But they know they have like an encyclopedic knowledge of different vehicles and being able to identify them aesthetically. If you just gave me an outline, I could tell what stuff was. But I won't get into my story too quickly because I want to hear Anthony's thing. But I'll get to mine eventually.
Let's do Anthony.
Let Anthony do
you want
his
me to
bit.
go?
Yeah, let's hear it, buddy.
All right, so going back, I'm trying to think. Getting into cars. So kind of similar to Levi, it all kind of stemmed from my parents, or I guess my dad, for example. He has always been, I'd say, a combination of a car guy and a motorcycle guy. When I was a kid, I remember growing up and he'd go through a car every couple weeks, every couple months. He would have something new and something different. And a lot of the times, I don't remember half the stuff he had, but the stuff that he did have, that I liked, I remember. And so I remember, I think I was, I don't know, in my don't know, I think 8 or 9 years old, I remember that he had picked up a couple bikes. He had always had motorcycles, but these ones in particular, he had picked up a CBR, I think it was like it was a 900 something. It was a Honda CBR, and then he had
What year would this have been, just for the folks in the audience so they can look down on you?
This would have been early 90s. It would have been late 90s, I think is what it was. So it was, I can't remember what it was. I can't remember if it was a 9.5. I can't remember what the exact CCs it was, but I remember that he had a bunch of sport bikes, and it was always the sport bikes that caught my eye. It was always the crotch rockets and things, and that was like
the cool fairings.
I'm like, that's cool, but I saw these things, and you can tell the way I'm talking, it wasn't like an instant love for cars or motorcycles. I just liked the way these things looked, because the thing was I didn't have any cars, didn't have any motorcycles, and I remember my dad would get me little toys of little motorcycles, little like Kawasaki Ninjas or a little old, GSXRs or CBRs or Yamahas and things like that, and I would have them as toys, but I never really had anything.
You're just reaffirming how aesthetically driven you are.
Of my own, but
it's all about the look.
It was
if
all about
it doesn't
the visual.
look right, I don't care.
It had to look cool. I liked the way it looked, and then I remember. Right when Fast and Furious came out, I remember my dad was like super pumped for me to see this movie. I mean, he was like really excited for me to see
finally
this
a movie for us car guys.
And I remember I was actually we went to the theater with him, and I remember sitting down and that intro scene of me seeing that eclipse, that green eclipse. Like blew my mind. I couldn't believe. I'm like, that's the coolest car I have ever seen.
So early 2000s.
Yeah. And so I tell my dad, I'm like, that's the coolest car I've ever seen, and he's like, I know, isn't it cool? And it was kind of funny because my dad was born in the early 60s. You would think that he wouldn't have this weird appreciation.
My dad was the same way
for Japanese cars. Like he was just as excited about that stuff as I was. He's like, oh, isn't that cool? Isn't that cool looking? Yeah. And looking back, I think I'm like, what a weirdo, like all about these Japanese imports. And so that's the first time I ever saw these cars I really really liked, and I didn't know what they were. I didn't know what brand they were. I didn't know if they had a turbo or if they didn't have a turbo. I didn't know that much. All I knew was that I liked them. And it was about, I don't know, a year later, he had invited me over to his house. I came over. He hands me a PlayStation controller. He's like, I got you a game, Anthony. And I was like, oh, what did you get me, right? And I turn it on, and it's Need for Speed Underground, right?
Yeah.
And that's when might as well just taken the needle and stuck it in my arm and been like, yep, this is what you're going to do now. And I was engulfed by that. I was engulfed by the tuner, like the tuner style, the culture, everything that involved, flames on the side of the car, tear marks on the tire, vinyl and all this crazy stuff, and underglow and turbo and sounds.
Why don't we have underglow and tearaway graphics on the Evo?
Soon. It's gonna happen. So I'm waiting for it to come back. But anyway, so I remember
wings down the side.
That's when really the car stuff started to hit me. The second that I had to physically be able to how do I say this? Take ownership of something, right? Like I couldn't own one of these cars in real life. I couldn't own one of these motorcycles, but in a video game I could, right? So that's how I was able to relate to things. When people would talk about cars at school and say, "Oh, did you see that Supra that drove by?" I can immediately say, "Oh, I have one of those in a video game," and I can associate that with that. So that became what I owned, which I didn't really own, but in as a kid, as a young teenager, that's what I could relate to. So I remember it was 2004, a couple of years later, my dad picked up a 350Z. Yeah. And that was the first time I had now been able to see a car that I really, really liked the way it looked. It was a black 350Z,
just like your dad's.
And when those came out, they were game changers. They were really unique.
Oh, they were. Yeah, I remember going on test drives.
I know you take them for granted now, but they looked so cool when they first came out. I was like, whoa.
The seats, the interiors, everything about them they were just an awesome vehicle.
I was excited because I was old enough to go test drive them, like walk into a dealership and go, can I take one of these out? And they're like, yeah okay. Like,
yeah, they were an awesome car. And so, and that's kind of the funny part because, I had my real dad, my biological father, and then I had my stepdad. And the funny part is that my stepdad, he had a 64, a Chevy, right?
Yeah.
So pickup.
C10.
And he cared about the paint on that. He was obsessed with detailing and things like that. And that was something that looking back, I gathered a lot of my OCD things that I have today from him, but I gather my just interest for cars from my biological dad. So I know it's kind of a blessing and a curse, but going forward from there, I remember in high school, I got my first car. Wasn't anything I was excited about. We were driving, me and my parents were driving on the side of a road, just out in front of a field, right? Because Boise used to be a lot of farmland. Yeah. And out in front of this field.
Of course, if you're not from here, you probably still picture it that way.
So out in front of this field was this black hatchback, right? I knew nothing about it. We pulled up in front of it. All I saw is that it had a little red vinyl tear, like sticker on the side, and it was black, had purple window tint on it, and I looked at it, and it kind of looked like a little mouse car type of thing, and my parents were like, Anthony, this is a Honda, this would be a great first car for you. It's not bad looking, it's got wheels on it, it looks pretty good.
The last thing you want is a car without wheels on.
And so wheels, not
rims. Yeah, you're talking rims.
Had 14 inches on it, so that was nice. But I remember looking at it, and I remember thinking, like, okay, like, it's all right. But my parents said this would be a good car to put your money into. Right. It's a Honda. It'll get you to and from school.
Code for honey, we're trying to help you, but you don't have a choice right now. You're getting this car.
That's exactly what it was.
But they got you something cool.
Fortunately, you got that.
You had the ability to do something to it.
But I had no idea though. Right. So I ended up getting this car, taking it home. I was really excited though. I went home. I put my CD. I couldn't even drive the damn thing because it was a 5-speed. I didn't know how to drive stick shifts yet, so I just put it in my driveway, listened to music on my on my CDs, and I was like, this is awesome.
So it's not so much a car as your home audio system.
I'm like, this is cool. My mom's like, what are you doing today? I'm like, I'm going to go sit in my car and go listen to music. She's like, okay. Whenever you want to start driving that thing, let me know. I was so scared to drive it. And
I don't want to screw it up.
I didn't want to. So I just put all this money into it. So basically, my mom is the one that taught me how to drive. My dad knows how to drive stick shift, but he wanted my mom to teach me because she'd be more patient. Yeah. And so I must have killed that car, stalled it. I grinded gears more times than I could imagine, but I eventually learned how to drive it. And that's when I was like, okay, I'm taking it to school today. My parents were like, oh my gosh, he's taking it. He's taking it out of the subdivision. They were so happy for me. So basically what this car was, it was a 96 Civic hatchback. It was black. That's pretty much it. Civic hatchback, black. It was the DX model. Didn't have any power windows.
Oh yeah.
So didn't have power steering. It was the base.
It's the efficiency model.
No VTEC.
That was the one that got like 42 miles to the gallon.
It actually got killer mileage.
It got great gas mileage. And so I drove up to school, and the second I walked into school, one of my friends came up to me and they're like, "Anthony, is that your car out there?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And then he's like, "Dude, I didn't know you liked Hondas." And I'm like, I guess. And he's like, dude, meet me at lunch. We're going to go sit in the cafeteria. I'm going to show you some pictures on the internet. And I'm like, all right, because this is before we could pull up pictures on the phone. This is back when,
on the internet was a big
deal. we go into the library. He pulls up all these pictures of the EK hatch of the Civic Type R in Japan, right? It's white with a bigger wing on the back.
Forbidden fruit.
It looked, and I looked at him like, my mouth dropped. I'm like, is that my car? And he's like, this could be your car.
That is always the tuner mentality is like,
this could be what your car looks like. And dude, and that's when it bit me, right? I'd been working at Quiznos. That was my first job. I was putting as much money as I could aside. I mean, I was making pretty much nothing, but I remember I was able to buy a lip kit for the car. I was able to buy like a different like shift knob. I was able to start doing these little things, and intake, and I was trying to do all these things that my parents maybe wouldn't notice right off the bat. Because my dad told me, don't put money into this car. He's like, it's a cheap car. Don't put money into it.
You're not going to get it all out.
You're never going to get that money back.
No,
and I was like, yes, I will.
But that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it.
If it looks cooler, I'm going to do it. So I bought carbon fiber bits. I started modding this car, and that was like my first
carbon fiber stuff that only ends up adding weight as opposed to reducing weight.
So I did all this stuff, and the funny part is I did all of these things, but looking back, I still I think that I tastefully modded that car.
Yeah, I've seen pictures. You did a good job.
It was a good-looking car for what it was. Taking it from where it was to what it was by the time I was done, it was a good-looking car, and I got compliments on it all the time, which is funny because, remember, it's a Civic hatchback. And
but it basically clicked one day that I can modify this.
It was one of those things
where
I can
tune it.
That's what interested me, is that I can make it my own. I could tweak it. I can tune it, and really, aesthetics are what was my main drive to that. Everybody would always ask me when I was going to swap the engine into it, and I said, well, even if I did swap the engine, it's never going to be a fast car, right? And that was kind of my mentality. Like, it won't ever really be fast unless I dump a lot of money into it. So I had like this weird, I'll dump some, but not enough to where I could justify, putting that to a different car. And then that's when, after driving that car for 5 years, actually 6 years I drove that car for, that's when I was like, I think I'm going to up the game a little bit. And most people might go from like a Honda Civic to maybe, let's just say, like an SRT4, something that has a turbo. But
or maybe you find a nicer SI or something.
A Civic SI, or going into like a WRX or something like that. But I was like, no, I want to go either all out or nothing at all.
Bobby, I want to go fast.
So that's when I was looking for my mom. I got my job at bodybuilding.com, and I started making more money, and I was able to now afford something. So my mom was like, all right, well, look up cars and let me know what you're interested in. And of course, everything I was interested in, I was looking at STIs, I was looking at WRXs, I was looking at stuff like that. And in my head, the Evo was always something that was not obtainable because it was just the car that was a little bit too pricey, but also I thought it was just unobtainable by a young 20-year-old. It wasn't realistic to get. And I did the math, and that's when I sent my mom a picture of one that I had found, and she's like, well, Anthony, if that's, and I always look for my mom's approval in a lot of things. And she says, if that's something that you're really wanting and you really, really want that car, then she's like, then get it. And I said, okay. So anyways, long story short there, I got the Evo after that, and it was a big jump, basically. Going from that to that, I felt like I went from driving like a Gremlin to like a Lambo, basically. And it was a big jump, and now I've had the Evo now for 5 years, and so it's actually paid off now. I just paid it off this month, and so now it's mine. And that's kind of where it is.
Just in time for the clutch.
And the thing is I love all cars, but really, having a tuner car, being in the tuner car culture, being around that's where I feel most home, and that's what I know the most. I've seen every single Fast and the Furious, right? And for some people, maybe like you see an old.
I've seen them all, and I love them.
Well, maybe you see like an old car that you've seen it. Like what they have they had the black car in the Fast and Furious 4. Which one? It was the intercooled.
Or are you talking about the Grand National?
The International.
No, the Grand National. The Buick Grand National.
Okay, so the Grand National, right? So you probably saw that one. Like, oh my gosh,
variations on the theme.
And I see that, and I'm like, okay,
that was a turboed Buick. That was a legit turboed Buick.
That was among
the
fastest
six-cylinder.
It
was a V6 that was turboed from the factory.
Yeah, from the factory. It was one of the first turboed cars from the factory.
And
right?
they were insane.
That was fast. So. Seeing something like that might be exciting for you, but whenever I see a peak of anything tuner in that series
what I liked
cars,
was in the latest, the newest ones was when they were in Cuba, and they were talking about all the stuff that get done. That's true. Like guys are taking boat motors and carburetors from Fords and putting them on Chevys and
everything
vice versa.
Is Frankenstein.
They had to Frankenstein everything because that's the only way they keep them running. There's guys machining and making their own
old cars. It's like, how do you think they kept running all this time?
No, because they couldn't.
Not original.
They couldn't get. They couldn't get anything.
No, some of them are like running on like wooden frames from like horse carts and stuff with the body slipped over it. And stuff. No joke.
They build everything and engineer it. So I like that they.
Yeah, so
they're
incorporating things like that.
Yeah.
But I just always get excited when I see a tuner car and I can relate to it. And I know that. I mean, that's just kind of the culture I grew up in, and that's what I know the most, and that's what I take the most pride in. But I mean, and then I also love motorcycles still. Motorcycles are still, I would say, right there on the same level of cars, and it's kind of hard for me to choose between the two because motorcycles. There's no arguing that they're stupid fast. They're fast. They can handle, and they make me so happy when I'm riding a bike. Like I don't think about anything else in the world when I'm riding a motorcycle. when I'm driving a car.
They're basically skydiving on two wheels.
Yeah. When I'm driving a car, I'm thinking about what I'm doing. I'm really focused. I'm focused on the road. And I'm really focused on, I don't know. I mean,
not getting hit.
Not getting hit. Yeah, not getting hit. I'm
honestly, that's
focused about
number one.
about the conditions and things like that. But I mean, on a motorcycle, which is weird. On a motorcycle, I just I put myself in an open space where I don't have to worry about anything, and I just have the time of my life. But a car is.
I have to get you behind the wheel of my dad's 26 Chevy.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
It's a little stressful.
Yeah, no, cars are. I don't know why cars stress me out just a little bit more because. For some reason, if I were to, let's just say, a rock were to fly and hit my motorcycle, I'd say, hit
I can replace that fairing for like $40.
It wouldn't bother me. But if a big rock were to fly up and hit my car, I would be like, yep.
He'd be sobbing on the side of the road.
I would be pretty upset. I don't know why the difference is that. But all right, Dane, let's hear about
hearing
story.
your guys' stories just makes me realize what a diverse cast we actually are when it comes to our tastes, because I mean, you're into the vintage stuff. You love the older stuff. You love the tuner stuff. Obviously, we like some new stuff, too.
Yeah.
But, man, I feel like I am just all over the map. And I'm the one who likes the weirdo cars.
Yeah,
I'm the one who likes the jalop. I'm certified jalop right here. So, yeah, there's a bit of that. But if I take it back, I guess, unlike you guys, no discredit to my dad. My parents are extremely supportive and wonderful, nice folks, but I didn't grow up in like a car crazy family.
Yeah.
Like I didn't have that. Like they liked cars. Cars were cool, but it wasn't like a thing where they had cool cars and all that stuff.
And to put it in perspective, those of you that have seen the Rag Cobra, that is your dad's Cobra.
Right, yeah.
And he sold his boat.
A long dream of his to get that.
Yeah, but he sold a boat. He had a boat that he
just like a
used.
ski boat.
Yeah, but he liked that and used that, but they sold that.
Yeah, and that was kind of his thing was like instead of getting like a cool car, you just, we had the family Suburban, to go out, and then we had a boat we could go out on the lake with in the summer, and that was
hopefully
that was
he gets another boat so we can all go back on the lake soon, because that would be a fun
those were fun times.
But he said that was something fun that you guys all could go as a family. Yeah.
And it's not like he didn't have cool cars in the past. It's just when I was growing up, we did not have
you had
cars.
family cars.
Well, I mean, earlier on in life, there was a period where, my parents for a long time had been musicians, and around the time I was born was kind of like when they were starting to phase, that out of their lives and going, we have a kid now.
We need real jobs.
We got to get real jobs. We got to do something. And for a good while there, we grew up pretty poor, honestly.
Yeah.
Like I remember one of the first cars we had was a really beat up old Ford LTD. It was gray, and it was about $700.
Yeah,
nice.
And it was, I mean, the windows only kind of rolled down. It was not pretty. We all hated that car.
Yeah,
it was. But you grow up in that, you don't take stuff for granted. And we stepped up from there. They had like their '84 Astro van.
Yeah,
which I actually liked quite a bit.
Yeah,
we had an Astro van.
Awesome.
That's pretty dope.
My dad had an Astro van.
Astro vans are awesome. Anybody who has one, good on you. But the childhood and stuff, I would just, to go a totally different path with this, basically to get into how I got into cars, it started with drawing for me too.
Yeah.
When it came to drawing, I mean, we had some, expert come to my house and basically talk with my folks because I just wasn't developing my motor skills. Like I wasn't able to write or draw or anything like that. And they're going, he was a little behind the other kids in his, level and stuff. So maybe because they kept trying to make me write with my right hand and all that stuff, and it basically kind of became a dead end of like, you might be a little behind the curve there, buddy. But
Dane might be retarded. No, I'm just kidding. No, I didn't mean to say that.
But no, it was just, the not being able to express yourself through writing or art.
Exactly.
That's kind of tough when you're like a little kid. You're like 3 or 4. And
I'm in that right now with my daughter. We're trying to find ways to help her.
So I'm not entirely sure if I'm necessarily on the spectrum or not, but I definitely didn't have the motor skills necessary.
Right.
And what they did was they got me a Magna Doodle.
Yeah.
Because I'm part of that generation where I'm probably one of the very last generations who got to live a totally analog childhood. And then when I hit my teenage years was finally when tech was becoming more adopted into daily life. So I got to live like the childhood that other people all reminisce over from the 70s and 80s and stuff. That was my early 90s childhood. Yeah. 90s childhood. So I got that. And
you guys seriously are actually.
Yeah, because now it's
that
just,
generation.
Kids just grow up with it.
My Lincoln Logs, man.
But yeah, I distinctly remember like the highest tech thing in the house is probably just the TV. I mean, we didn't have we didn't have Windows 3.1
let me put it this way.
Until
my kids the other day were mad because we were watching the Super Bowl. It was a couple weeks ago. We were watching the Super Bowl, and my daughter goes, "Can we watch something on Netflix?" She's 6, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, "No, we're watching the Super Bowl. This is what's on TV." And she was like, "Ugh, this is boring." She's 6.
Yeah.
She's like, "Why can't we watch something on Netflix or?" And Augie goes, "Or maybe Amazon Prime." That's what Augie chimes in. And Carly and I looked at each other and we were like,
"We're about to give you sticks and rocks."
Yeah, we're like,
play outside.
Yeah, we're like, no, we're gonna watch this. And then Augie and Hadley go, "Can we play the iPad?" It was like, no, like
maybe something without a screen.
Just so you guys know, back in the day, whatever was on TV was what you watched. You didn't get to
how
pick
you
something.
end up sounding like that. We walked uphill both ways in the snow.
Exactly. Yeah, back in the day, we didn't
have
have all these shows we could just pick and choose. So
I almost feel like we're one of the last generations who really gets to say that kind of thing when we end up having our kids and we get to tell them and they're like,
like you know what, they need to stay home, all right, they need to stay home with just the antenna TV.
Yeah,
and
with 3 channels.
And wait for what's it called? The Price is Right to be the most exciting part of their day in the morning.
Yeah.
I mean that.
Okay,
that or,
so we really segued off my story.
But back to Dane living in the Dark Ages.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know about Dark Ages. It was a good childhood. We were just,
but
poor.
So they brought in an expert to help you figure out how to either write or draw or use your left hand.
They just got
or
kind of like a family doctor
get your motor
type
skills.
who was just
my daughter has one. She's got a therapist that does the same.
Need some help if we're going to get you up to your peers' level because kindergarten and whatnot or first grade and everything are coming up hot, so you got to be ready. So basically they got me a Magna Doodle and just start drawing basic pictures. And the nice thing was if you screwed up, you could erase it with a nice little thing, and it's just magnetized dust. So you just go and you keep trying until you start. What it really helped was with repetition without having to throw away paper all the time. You could just get the shapes down and start there. And the first things that ever caught my eye as a kid were cars because they're interesting shapes. They're everywhere. You can spot all kinds of different stuff, and you're like, later on, you kind of get the idea like what drove that person to get that specific vehicle over something else similar, that sort of thing. Neighbor had like a cool old 86 Toyota Corolla. One of my neighbors had a red one, and I remember that was like a cool looking car.
Hatch or the
It was a hatch,
okay.
But but this is like back in 1992 or 3.
Yeah,
so it was
like a real one,
pretty early on. But like the car itself, it was like I think 85, 86, something like that. But anyway, so neighbors had a few cool cars, and I just kind of saw those, so I tried drawing them, you know, and build that, and you're just like, okay, that's a little reference point. As a kid, I don't know how much thinking you're really doing, but for me, I felt like I thought a lot as a little kid just about why stuff was. But so I kind of built on that, and my parents noticed I had like a propensity for drawing cars more than anything else, like just drawing general car shapes. And, people got drawn, but it was mostly like these shapes of cars and stuff. So they're like, okay, it's clearly interested in cars. So they started getting me some like drawing books where I could get more into like pencil drawing and all that kind of stuff. And I built on that. And one time, because we were living in the Seattle area, and Federal Way, but one of the coolest things that caught my eye right off the bat was we were driving in Seattle for some reason. We were downtown there to get something at a store, and I want to say it was probably like in 1993, maybe 1992, Porsche 928 drove by. And that caught my eye. Something about that shape was just it looked like a spaceship. It was cool. And I just saw it go by. I was like, what is that? Yeah. And that really caught my attention. So, of course, anybody listening right now, like, oh, 928s, the unloved Porsches.
Someday Dane will have one.
Yeah. So, 928s are cool. I don't care what anybody says.
They are. I love them.
It was super rad. That caught my eye. I immediately thought, I want to draw that. So I got into that. And then while we were in Seattle there, got a book just for like drawing cars, and I noticed that a particular one I liked, a drawing book, had a Porsche 928 in it. So that's the one that got me locked into, like, I want to draw this. And then it also had, like, 959s, and it had, like, old Vector W8 in it.
Yeah, I remember
like,
the Vector.
Really cool stuff. Like, Vectors are cool to draw. It just looks like a big old doorstop. But, you got the cool stuff. You can kind of get more into it, and that's what started really getting me into cars. And right around that same time, my parents had also gotten, they thought it was a nice Christmas gift. We got the first Need for Speed game, like the first, like Need for Speed SE Special Edition. Yeah. So it was the, get the computer set up, because we had Windows 3.1 for a long time, but then we got 95, and that rolled around, and it was time to install some like super process. Sick, computer games on this beast, right?
Yeah.
So you got that, and we put Need for Speed in there, and I was immediately hooked. I'm like, ooh, Ferrari Testarossa and Corvette ZR1, all these things, and it was so cool. But I definitely kind of developed an affinity for Porsches, like 993, 911s, and 964, all that stuff. But anyway, I'm going way down the rabbit hole. Basically, that is to say, it got me really interested in cars.
But you didn't come from a car family.
But that was the thing. This was something I developed on my own with my parents, facilitating it by going, he's really interested in cars. We don't necessarily know a ton about cars.
But what helped
He's really interested in cars. We don't want him to be slow. So feed into, give him the car.
Maybe that was the impetus behind it. I don't know. I wasn't in their heads.
But kudos to your parents to recognize something that they needed to find. You were struggling, and they were trying to find something to help it make it easier for you to learn.
Yeah.
And they were able to do that. And so they saw that you liked doing something. You liked cars, you liked seeing cars.
After a few years of drawing that stuff, then we got the Need for Speed, got me even more into cars, and I love watching like all the spec sheets they had, like, because the original Need for Speed was like done by Road and Track with Electronic Arts, so they had like actual like right out of the magazine spec sheets and like a little video that like teases like, oh, isn't this car cool? And just something about that really got me interested. That also was probably one of the first things that got me interested in car videos.
So that's the difference right there.
That's where it clicked.
So like Gran Turismo, right, was obviously really, it was trying to be a simulator, right? Had all the real things and all of that. That's kind of the difference between me and you. I would play Gran Turismo, and I would get mad. I would get mad at how real it was, right? I'm like,
when I turn, it doesn't turn.
Yeah,
like, I remember as little kids, that was the worst thing. It's just like, it's not turning. It's like, because you're going too fast.
Yeah. So I would sit there, I'm like, I hate the way this car handles, right? Or like,
then you realize they all handle
or
like that.
Or being a kid, right? And I would see that Sylvia logo. I'm like, that looks like an old logo. I don't think I want that, right? And
meanwhile, what's like the most popular car today? 240s.
Yeah, and so I'd go through all these other cars, like thinking, and I hated that, and it was so real that it almost gave me the things where I said, okay, I have to modify this, or I have to get my car up to this class, and then I'd have to do these certain mods. I'm like, that's dumb. I need to dumb it down for me. And so that's when Need for Speed Underground, where it was like, do you want to add the Gretty turbo package? I'm like, yes, add that. Do you want to add the exhaust, the flames coming out of the exhaust? I'm like, yes.
And I guess that did kind of shape our perceptions of things, because my first like Need for Speed and stuff like that, you couldn't modify the cars. The car was the car.
Yeah,
and that's what you had.
That's what you got.
So I got really into having more of an encyclopedic knowledge of the cars. So I was all about knowing the specs, knowing the brands, knowing a little of the history of the brands, like that interested me. And then for your kid, your basis of knowledge is only so big, so you have lots of room to expand it. So what direction did I go? I looked into the history of a lot of stuff, because I was fascinated. I was like, all this happened before I was born. This is so cool. And I was really interested in the past of these things. And then I got a taste of the future when I went to my first car show in 1998. It was the Seattle International Car Show in 98. And that's when I first sat in, you guys are going to love this, I sat in like the first Vehicross in America.
Ooh. Isuzu
pretty sweet. If you don't know what an Isuzu Vehicross is, go, actually Doug
just
DeMuro
Google
did
it.
a video on one recently, so you can go check that out. But funky car, but way cool. It's like a Japanese Bronco. But so you got that, and then also the Dodge Sidewinder concept was there. That was so cool. It had, as a kid, you're looking like, this is super cool, because when you look at it now, you're like, it looks like a squished Dakota pickup from that era. maybe a little bit before its time, but right around there.
Yeah,
and it looked like they turned
it
into a convertible hot rod. Basically,
Yep.
what the Chevy SSR eventually was.
Yep.
This was like a better looking version. Of
Yeah,
that.
no, I remember that car.
But yeah, it had it was all cartoonish. Like the pedals said like go for gas and stop for the brake. Like they literally shaped them like stop sign and a foot going go faster. And the tire tread was flames.
Yep.
It wasn't tire tread. It was
that was
like
a big
flames
thing.
in the rubber.
That was a big thing that the designers were doing for the concept cars. They still kind of do that, but in the late 90s, early 2000s, they did that. I remember Chevrolet came up with their I can't remember the name of it, but it was basically the precursor to the Avalanche.
Yeah.
And it was like the Rescue 1 or Rescue something, but it was maybe the Everest concept or something, but it had the same thing, but it had like the tires were smooth, even though it was a off-roader, but then the tires had these weird lugs, so to speak, which were like either actual like six-sided lug nuts, like all the way around as the tread pattern, and then it had like Chevrolet logos, and then they had like they had that kind of they'd done something, but there was a lot of.
You imagine what it would cost to replicate those tires.
There was a lot of companies that were doing that. They were building they were either doing the logo or they're building these design shapes in the rubber
in the tread,
for the concept cars.
Yeah,
and that was one of the fun things I always liked seeing too.
That really opened up my eyes to the world of cars and stuff, though. First international car show, you have so much cool stuff.
Oh, and every manufacturer
my first time
there.
seeing like a rally car on the wall. I got to see. I'm pretty sure. I saw an XJ220 Jaguar there, and that as a childhood, car, like the 928 was cool. XJ220, I got a model of that thing.
Oh yeah,
that
I love the XJ220.
Coolest looking car, supercar to a kid there, and for a brief while held the top speed record until McLaren F1 totally shattered it.
Yeah,
that's besides the point.
If you guys want to learn more about it, go on the latest episode of the Grand Tour, 2 episodes back, I think they talk about that.
No, they do the 220 versus the EB110, which is cool. So both awesome cars back then, but just all this stuff, something about just that being a kid, having that nostalgia in the 90s, you're getting to see all this stuff. There's a lot of, because the 90s were a time of like hope and looking forward, and there was all this really, really cool, forward thinking stuff, but you got to see a lot of just, people were excited. It was fun. In the 2000s, things started to kind of cool off a little bit, but 90s, man, that was a great time to be into cars. Yeah. So then
how was SEMA? In that same perspective of where you came from, your guys' first time attending SEMA. I've been to SEMA. Yeah. I've been to SEMA a lot for a long time. I've known it's
going to SEMA
old hat, but for you
guys,
the
first time this past year, in terms of size and scale, that's what it felt like when I went to the International Car Show as a little kid. Because I was about 9, 10 at the time. So when I saw that was just like, whoa.
But that was starting your addiction, so to speak, and then this is the culmination. Getting to see the Unicorn, getting to see the GT,
just all the crazy stuff you hear about, you read in magazines, look at online, but then to see it in person, it's like, oh, I can actually reach out and touch it. That's so cool.
Getting to see that carbon fiber NSX.
Oh god, that thing was like beauty,
insane.
Yeah,
being able to. I think that's what it was. I think it was just being able to see things and physically scale it. That's I have to stand next to something. I mean, I own it. I want it, and I can't have it. But that. I mean, I was just as excited seeing that BMW HP4 motorcycle. That one. That
he was really pumped. I was like, motorcycle.
My mouth dropped. I looked at those guys. I'm like, guys, it's an $80,000 motorcycle. And when you put that, you have to think a motorcycle, something that could easily just fall over. I'm like, there's $80,000.
And you're just over there breathing on it, like
And then they started it up for me, and I was like a kid in a candy store.
They revved it a few times for it. That was cool.
There's some things there that definitely made me feel like a kid, and that's what I loved. That I was able to see all these things, but it was almost too much. I wish somebody could just say that.
And we didn't even see all of it.
And give it a little bit at a time so I can actually take it in. Because looking back, there was so many amazing cars I saw. But I didn't really get to, because all these cars, it's not like they just visually look good. I mean, they're mechanically, they have so much work done to them. If you get underneath these cars, you can eat off the bottom of them, but you can only see what you see for that brief second before you have to move on to the next car. So I wish I could have more time with them.
Yeah. But yeah, just to kind of get it to the part where I actually get my own car and stuff like that.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
What was your first ride?
My first ride. Well, to get it there, yeah. No, we had gone through several Chevys. We're like a Chevy family, how some families are like brand. We weren't really heavily brand, but
my dad's a Chevy Nissan
my dad,
man.
he had his Suburbans early out after the Astro van and the Lumina went away. We had a Lumina Eurosport for a while. Ooh,
that's futuristic.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Also kind of crappy, but it was a fast car. It was just a clanky fast car.
That's a very good way to describe them.
But honestly, that was probably the sportiest car they had during my childhood. So my dad had a 72 Mercury Cougar back in the day when he was in high school. He loved that thing. It was like that mystic green. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was his big thing. So he was into cars to that degree. He really loved it. But I think him getting the Rag Cobra, finally being able to afford his own dream car kind of thing, that was him going back to like, yes, I can finally have like
and then the Ragscalade, that was
the Ragscalade's cool.
That's the blue Escalade that he got.
That's a natural evolution of all the Suburbans we've had in my famfamily. Because
that was him.
Still Chevy.
We've been a suburban family for a long time.
But that was him kind of going like, oh, I want something fun and cool, and so
and go figure, he got like a unique one because it's blue, and you don't see many blue ones.
No, it's
around.
a very rare color.
Yeah. So that was cool. But at the time, the first car I drove in our family was a '98 Blazer. We'd had it since I had 3 miles on it, at the dealership in Port Angeles, Washington. So. Yeah, that one we had a long-standing relationship with, and I think when I got it, I had about 170,000 miles on it, because, we bought it new in '98. That was like our first new car purchase ever. Yeah. It was between that and a Subaru Outback. So we got that because they're like Chevy.
Yeah.
But Subarus are great. But I'll get to that. But, my first car was a '98 Blazer. It was nice, drove it to high school and stuff, but it's like, I can go anywhere I want, and it's tough. It's 4x4, whatever. But it wasn't really me as a car. So, like, my first car going to high school and going to, junior high for the last bit of the last year when I could drive, because here in Idaho, you can drive a little earlier than you can back up in Washington. But, I had that for a little while. And then when it finally came time, had some money saved up, and it was time for me to get my own car. And I thought, oh, my God, what an opportunity. Mm-hmm. What do I do? And I've been preparing for this moment to carry on the drawing thing. In high school, I've been taking mechanical drawing and engineering courses and stuff. So I don't know if you know this. I actually know how to operate CAD.
Yeah,
but
nice.
So that was cool. But one of the things I did in CAD was we had one of those Scottsdale lasers, like those crazy, carved the balsa wood with the laser kind of thing in the classroom. So that was pretty cool over at Capitol High. And I made a model. The mission was to make basically like a matchbox holder. The idea was to make some kind of wall mount object that would hold matchboxes. So everybody's designing like birdhouses and like matchbox. I said, F that. I'm making a freaking car. So I made a Subaru SVX matchbox holder. And that's when I first had gotten into Subaru SVXs. And I'm like, this car's so weird. It's JDM. It's got half windows. It's got the DeLorean windows. Weird. It's got a flat six like a Porsche. It's all these things. By the way, it's Porsche. To all the people who pronounce it Porsche, you drive me insane. Okay, Porsche. Anyway, I get like that. I'm very defensive about that. Anyway. Subaru SVX, super stoked on that. Designed it. I wrote underneath exactly what it was because just prior to that,
nobody else knew.
Nobody
else knew what it was.
They were like, "Wow, Dane, is that your design?"
And you know what? It looked a lot like it, but I had to draw it in CAD, like line by line by line, and those super sweet vector graphics. And I made, and it was cool because the side it was designed after a red anniversary edition SVX I'd seen for sale on a lot here in Boise. And I took a picture of the car when I was there, and I saved the picture. I brought it to school, and I was like, okay, I have to design my box based on this. So I designed the sides, and then I just mirrored the other side to look like the same thing going the other way. So I had two sides.
Do you still have this?
And it's at my parents' house.
You need to take a picture of it. We need to post it.
I'll bring it in. But it's like a engraved carved wood thing, and the hood opens so you can put the matchboxes in it. And then I designed a really clever trick that blew the teacher's mind.
The half windows came down?
The spoiler was a handle to a drawer that slid out and the back window raised, and it pulled out, and that's how you loaded the matches into the thing, and it just slid in and out. And nobody else had done anything like that, so like, okay, Dane, you're pretty creative. All right.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
He's like, she gave me a C, which
they're
was
like, all you had to make was a birdhouse.
My teacher was one of those classically like tough
That's awesome.
teachers. He was rough, and he finally conceded. He's like, you did some really creative, cool stuff here, Dane. You're getting an A on that. And I was like, oh, thank you, because I really put a lot of heart and soul into making that thing. It was unique, but it was, I don't know, I felt like it was clever. Like, that's always my thing. I'm always trying to be too clever for the sake of whatever, but I find it fun. So,
awesome,
sometimes
dude.
it comes off a little try hard, but I just like to go above and beyond when it's something that I'm really passionate about. So, anyway, did that. I decided I still really like SVXs after I had that. So I'd like, what am I going to do with the money I'm going to, save up and buy a car? I want to find an SVX. Well, turns out not very many of them were made, so finding one's kind of hard. But because we're in the Pacific Northwest, there are a few around because they're all-wheel drive. So people had bought them up here in fairly common.
So you got one.
So I found one on Craigslist. I went to the lady's house. It was rough. It was beat. It was bad. It was a 95. Had all-wheel drive. It was blue, and I liked that because the blues were even more rare. And I was all about being unique.
I'm going to see if I can find an SVX. Okay,
if you find one, it's probably going to be sad.
Okay.
But, so I found one, but it was weird. Like, it had, you know how on sunroof, when people open the sunroof and they got those deflectors that go on the front, hers had melted onto the paint after being out in the sun too hot in, like, Arizona or something for a while. And she told me, she goes, oh, yeah, I did 110 in a snowstorm with it once. It's a good car. I'm just going, oh, wow. I don't know about this because it was like, it was okay. It had like 95,000 miles on it. I'm like, it looks pretty rough for 95,000 miles. Yeah. And, at the time I'm looking at these, SVXs aren't worth much, really.
Yeah.
But she was asking like $4,000 or $5,000. And I'm like, it's a little steep for the condition it's in and stuff. And then I basically told her, it's like, I really apologize. This is exactly the kind of car I want. I just don't know if it's necessarily the condition I'm looking for. And she goes, okay, I'll tell you what. And this is so cool because this is where you get those stories. She said, I have a neighbor. He's an older gentleman. It turns out, you're going to be surprised to hear this, he actually has like the exact same car, except it's
in better shape.
Super pristine. It's like old man cared for.
Okay.
Quality. It is probably the nicest one of these you will ever see. And I'm like, really? Okay. Do you have his number or something? She goes, oh, that's okay. I'll take you over to his house. I'm like, what? Okay. I was really taken aback. Like, she was really nice. I'm like, you're not even getting my money. You're still willing to help. Like, she was really nice. And I was like, okay.
She saw the passion burning in your eyes.
Yeah, because I really wanted that car. And she's just like, I get it. Don't worry about it. But she knew about this other car because apparently the old man with the car had been waiting to put his up for sale until she sold hers because they were so similar. And he knew his would probably sell, and he didn't want to steal her thunder. Yeah. So he was being thoughtful. Really nice old guy. But yeah,
were they in a
Subaru
like, club together or something?
No, this guy was like 88, and he was a little worse for wear. He wasn't doing super hot, but he was really nice guy. And we went over to the house, knock on the door, and he's like, oh, hello. And she's like, hey, so you know how I'm selling my car? And he's like, yeah. And she goes, well, this guy, he's getting his first car, right? And he's really interested in getting a Subaru SVX. And he's like, oh. And she's like, and, he really likes mine. He likes how mine looks and everything, but it's just, it's a little beat up. You know how it is. And he's looking for something that's just a little nicer. And he's like, oh, well, are you saying you want to see mine? And she goes, yeah, would you mind showing it to him? And I was just so blown away, like, how nice everybody was being. It's like, okay. And, be nice, and occasionally nice things will happen to you. So I was just really straightforward and honest with her. I wasn't mean about it, like, oh, this is garbage. I was just like, it's not exactly what I'm looking for. But I wasn't beating around the bush. I was very clear. I was like, I'm not going to buy this one because it's just not right for you. Anyway, he goes, okay, I'll go down to the garage. Just meet me down there, because it was like a split-level house or whatever. So we go over to the garage, and the door opens, and it's just, oh, my God, it had perfect paint. It's like somebody had just polished it, but turns out he just took really good care of it.
Yeah.
And it was gorgeous, and everything on it was stock, but it was so well taken care of. It looked like it come off the showroom floor. And he goes, I apologize. The door had sat open last night and the battery was dead. Let me go charge it real quick, and then you can take it out for a spin. And I was just like, okay. And I thought, in my head I'm going, it probably doesn't start. Maybe there's something wrong with it. Like, I don't know. Well, He jumped it and it started right away. And he's just like, okay, hands me the keys. And he's like, just go drive it around. Just, see what you think of it. I was like, should I just go up the street and come back? He's like, no, take it out on the roads. Like, see what you think of it. Just drive it around and get a feel for it and come back to me when you're done. I was like, are you sure? And he's like, seriously, go out for a few hours and drive it. Like, you don't need to come back right away. It's okay. And he goes, she knows you now and she has your number, so we can contact you if anything comes out. I was like, okay. So I got to drive it. I went on the freeway. And next thing I knew, I'd been on the freeway for like 2 hours.
You're like,
went up in the mountain roads. I drove it around all over the place. And I was like, oh, my God, this car's amazing. It's even better than I drink because I'd never actually driven one before.
Yeah.
But it's so, you feel so low in the car. You just feel a part of it. And the windows are unique. But they don't cover your sight lines like you think they would. And just the whole experience was so amazing. I came back to it. I was like, okay.
How much
you probably won a lot for this. I know that people don't normally ask a lot, but what's it going to take if I want to buy this? And he told me, and basically it ended up running me about $6,200.
Not bad.
For an SVX, that's a little steeper, but in the condition it was in, it was worth every penny. And it was so...
How many miles were on it?
This is the best part. It had 50,000 miles on it. It was like a new car.
Yeah.
What was hilarious was he said, yeah, my wife and I bought it so we could go up to our ranch up north because it's, little rougher roads up there. You have to go up a dirt road. So I needed something with like all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive. And then he points to a tracker, a geo tracker in his driving. And he goes, we found out that pretty much does the same thing. And then he's just like, so this just...
an SVX
and
he
looked at the SVX. It's like, it just seemed a little too nice, to take up those roads after we thought about it. So we just decided, we should probably sell it. Okay. And oh my gosh.
So how long did you have it?
Everything worked in it. I sold it in 2012. I bought it in 2007. So I had it till 2012.
Yeah.
So I had it for a good little time there. I drove it all the way down to California. I lived in LA for a while, so I had it with me when I was down there. Awesome highway cruiser, getting everywhere. It was the best car I could ask for it to be.
So what made you sell it?
So eventually I ended up selling it because, as all things do, eventually the Grim Reaper comes for some of your parts, and the parts are more expensive than you could afford.
Yeah. And
that's why a lot of SVXs aren't necessarily worth a lot, because the people who buy them cheap usually don't have the means to keep them going because, hey, they bought them cheap and they weren't, where like somebody buys like a 3000 GT VR4, stuff goes wrong, it gets expensive because they're really complicated. SVX is fairly complicated to some, and I at the time I was not mechanically savvy. Like, I know cars and I have that encyclopedic knowledge of all these different things, specs, whatnot, but when it came down to it, I hadn't even had so much as an experience of like changing a spark plug. I tried changing my oil one time, and that's about as far as I'd ever gotten with a car, and I still like got help with that.
Yeah.
Now though, a few progressions later, I finally got the hang of it. Now I actually work on my own car, so that's a little different.
Yeah.
But that car holds a special place in my heart, and I actually posted on Instagram the other day. I was just like, anybody else have a car like one of your early cars and you sold it, but you could just never quite get it out of your head? That was that car.
This is mine.
Oh, yeah. No, you got the tat to prove it, too.
Yeah.
I have it tattooed on my arm. So this is my 76 Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme.
Yeah.
I got that. That was my first actual car that I paid for. So when I started driving, I had a 73 3/4-ton Chevy pickup, 4x4 that had been rolled down a hill.
Yeah.
It's called the Green Truck. And
Green Truck.
So we named it. It was the Green Truck.
What kind of truck is that? That's a green one right there.
It's the Green Truck, La Troca Verde.
Yeah.
And that was what I had, and then my dad and I had that 85 Toyota Supra, and so we'd take turns driving it and doing stuff. It was awesome, but I totaled it when I was 17. It was a bad day when I did that. And then, so then I needed a car, and my dad was like, "You need to buy a car," and because I totaled the Supra, he took my truck away until I bought a car. And so so I bought a car, sold a car, and then used the leftover money to pay my dad back, pay off my share of the car, do some stuff. So I did a bunch of different things. Kept my truck, which just was a hand-me-down. So I never actually changed money with it. But the first car that I bought to drive as my own was that 76 Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme. I paid $550 for it. I drove it for 4 years, and I loved that car.
Oh, just like big, cushy.
It was a boat
sofa on the road.
It was just I don't know what it was. It was perfect. And Yeah, I sold it.
Ladies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I sold it after I got married because I had too many cars. I had that. I had a 77 Buick that I was swapping the motors on. I was doing a bunch of stuff.
I'll tell you what, while we're talking about all these, we'll give pictures to Tim so he can post them up and you guys can see
that way you guys can
video.
see some of these cars. But
so if you're watching on YouTube.
That was what I did. That was my car. But,
no, gotta love that.
Then I bought an Elantra.
Yeah.
No.
And the rest is history.
The rest is history.
And I bought a Miata, and the rest is history.
Yeah.
But no.
So current stable, you now have.
Now I have a Ford C-Max Energy plug-in hybrid. I actually just liked it because I had a 620-mile range, and I thought that's a lot less going to the gas station. I like that. So I could plug in 20 miles, and I got my Miata, which is like my true fun car. Because for a while there, I had a Honda Element that had been another dream car of mine. I know I like weird stuff. Get over it.
Yeah. And then Anthony.
So right now I have, I have the Evo. I have my '99 Civic EX. Which actually I love that car.
It looks like an SI to the
I drive that a lot.
I adore that car. I actually was thinking the other day if something were I have this. Okay, mark my words. I have a very strong feeling that car is going to get stolen eventually, and I'm not trying to jinx myself. I just literally
it's just lately there have been a lot of
because it's in nice shape.
It's in really decent shape, and I have a feeling that if somebody were to see, I haven't seen another one like mine that looks as good as that one looks.
Yeah.
I mean,
which is funny considering the state you bought it in.
Yeah. Well, no, because it's not molested.
It's not molested. It's just a clean looking car, surprisingly. Yeah. And so I have a feeling that it is going to get stolen. I don't know why I have that feeling, but I think that all the time that it's going to get stolen because, I mean, knock on wood, guys, but I mean, realistically.
We do have a Civic
or like a Honda theft squad going on.
Yeah, there's a ring
in the last couple of months. So I'm hoping it doesn't. I do want to install some type of anti-theft. I want to just basically install a fuel pump cutoff switch to where I can hit
just a kill
switch
you can hide somewhere in the car.
Nobody can start the car or
unless they listen to this podcast and they know about it. Oh no!
I'm like, don't look under the dash.
So
anyways,
Evo,
so Civic. I have my 2010 Triumph Speed Triple 15th Anniversary Edition, which I love that bike. And then I have my 2015 Honda Grom. Now, if I could go back and pick up one of my previous vehicles, like I said, I don't have a whole lot because I only had a 96 Civic before this. I would actually go back and get my 2006 Suzuki SV650 back.
I always wanted one of those.
The SV650 was an amazing motorcycle,
and so cool.
I would definitely get another one in the future if I can get that same exact one in that color. So that's what I got. What do you have?
I got the 2006 Hyundai Elantra that we bought brand new.
Yeah, buddy.
We bought that brand new off the dealership.
It's like we got stickers of it or something.
Something like that. You can go buy some. And then, like I said, I got my 41 Chevy, which luckily resides at my dad's house because if my wife saw it every day, we'd probably have to get rid of it.
Probably wouldn't have it much longer.
I wouldn't have it much longer because it does just sit. And then I bought my wife the our 14 Camry Sport. SE Sport, so in bright red.
And that's the way I looked at it. It's like you have your fun performance machine, and then you've got your DD or your like efficient car that you can share with
the Elantra's
wife or girlfriend.
The Elantra's the performance machine, and
obviously.
the 14 Sport Camry Sport is the family car.
Yeah.
So
obviously, right? I mean, why would I need anything else? No, I miss our minivan, the 11 Dodge Grand Caravan. I miss that. Just for versatility, and
it's easy to hate on minivans,
powerful.
but the reality is
once you get one,
practical.
Once you get one, and the practicality, you just like, dang, that was really a good car.
And that's why I love my Element until I had like a weird rogue like phantom electrical issue that just randomly made it not start. And of course, when it's your only car, that can be a bit much. So,
my wife did say yesterday we were sitting there talking, and I went and filled it up with gas for her, and she came back, and I was like, we got 40 cents off, and I put premium in for you, and she was like, I just want to tell you I love that car. And I was like, good, I'm glad you like it. Like we've had it for a year now. We bought it last year and she really does like it. And so I was like, good, I'm glad you like it. She goes, no, I was just thinking the other day when I was driving it, like I just like it. She goes, it's sporty enough, it's fast enough, it's quick enough, that it doesn't
bore you to tears.
It's so it's a flashy color. She likes it. It's bright red. Dark tinted windows, so that's us. Yep. So that's us in a nutshell.
Yeah.
This was a very long podcast.
We're an hour and 43 minutes.
Yeah. So hope you guys enjoyed this one. We went deep down the rabbit hole on all of us.
Listening.
But this is fun. Like the people who are into this, they're going to listen all the way through.
Yeah,
they're not going to care one bit. We appreciate all those of you who listen and persevere through our podcast.
Well, I think this was a much persevere. I think this was a much needed topic.
I'm very self-deprecating. Sorry.
I think it was a much needed topic because I think it gets you,
it shows you where we're coming from,
and where we come from, and why. Maybe we have different viewpoints and
we do. We have different opinions about stuff. So
we're definitely we're all car people. We all get along. We all talk cars all the time. We all draw cars. I mean, draw, not draw cars.
Yeah.
We have a big old wall of all different cars we draw. And I felt like I kind of did a weird job of explaining my background. I know a lot about cars. I was thinking back. I'm like, I kind of maybe sounded like I didn't.
If you want to talk tuners or motorcycles, talk with Anthony.
But you get in it, and Anthony can talk.
I'm on that low calorie diet right now, so my mind is not where it wants to be.
So,
but it was fun.
Comment below and tell us
what was your car?
Yeah. How did you start? What did you like? We'd love to hear from you guys.
Was it a video game?
Was it a video game? Was it
an experience?
Growing up?
If you're thinking about purchasing an SVX for yourself, feel free to ask me questions.
Yes, Dane knows all about them.
Or, classic JDM vans. I know a lot about Delicas and, high aces and light aces.
There you go, yeah.
So
there's some Previas at the junkyard across the street.
Mid-engine rear-wheel drive vans, sign me up. Oh, wait, it's got a supercharger too? Oh!
Hey!
Okay, yeah, anyway, I could dork out of it.
All right, guys, well...
So thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to Anyone Gets Our Outro.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for hanging in there. And at any rate, we'll go back to a regular scheduled podcast next week, but this is just a fun one. I hope also that you notice the audio is a little clearer. We transitioned things back to the older way we did our audio and just found this is probably the way to go.
Yeah.
So, anyway, thank you so much for listening. As always, you can find us on iTunes, Shout Engine, and YouTube if you're watching this. So, until next time, take care.
See you guys.